Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Today we have Dr. Elison Kemibala with us from Tanzania. A brief introduction of Dr. Elison. He has done his bachelor's in environmental sciences from Muhibili University of Health Sciences, Tanzania, and master's in medical parasitology and entomology from Kilimanjaro Christian Medical University College, Tanzania. For PhD, he did his PhD in applied zoology from University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Currently, he's a principal at MUHEZA College of Health and Allied Sciences. With this brief introduction, we'll say thank you so much, Dr. Ellison, for taking time out for this conversation.
Oh, thank you, Raja, for having me. It's my pleasure to have this opportunity to participate in this Empowering Science Foundation. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Dr. Ellison. We start our conversations by asking that how and when you decided that you want to become a researcher.
Oh, this is a very nice question. I'll try to pinpoint some areas when I decide to become a researcher. This goes back to my O-level studies, where I was preferring science subjects. I was much curious on exploring things and particularly that focusing on human health. So after I joined my bachelor at Muhimbili University, it was very interesting to work on the some projects which were carried out at the university, like we were involving in assessing the lung function performance among workers who were working in the quarries. So from there, I found it interesting to explore some environmental factors, and then boom, I get interested into doing those research. Yeah.
So, as an undergrad, at that point of time, when you experienced the research for the first time, was it clear for you that you want to do a PhD at some point of time?
Actually, during my undergrad, I had no, you know, on part of us developing country, it depends much on the finance. So I had know that I used to like to be a doctor. Even my document I was writing Dr. Elison before even acquiring that position. But I didn't know if I'll be having that opportunity to join a PhD. So I did know that picture since I was
Mhm.
not sure about the funding and so issues.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think the generation, if we can go back behind before 3 or 4 decades, if
Mm.
you choose biology as your major after your 10th, the moment you specialize in biology, every student want to become a medical doctor to pursue medicine. That is their first to go, used to be. It has been changed now, and we are seeing it is for a betterment when we are getting more and more researchers, you know, they come to their PhDs with the mind that this is what they always wanted to do from their early childhood. But I do, as you mentioned, there are most of us who come from that era that if you choose biology, you want to pursue medicine. That's how they say that everyone wants to become a doctor, which eventually some of us actually, later on take the path of PhD and put the doctor as a prefix. That is a
Yeah.
different journey. So so now from undergrad to masters, when you did your master's research, how
Mm-mm.
was that experience? And based on that, when you decided that you want to do PhD, what were the main focus areas or your interest which you already have figured out by that time?
Yeah, yeah. You see, Then the college I joined, the MUHEZA College of Health and Allied Science, previously it was focusing on training issues on vector control. So I had to go and do masters in the medical parasitology and entomology. As it was a course of my college. So after I completed my master degree in entomology, I focused on mosquitoes specifically. So then I had the opportunity because that work it was not completed, so we had to expand it, and then I got an opportunity for a PhD. So it was an extension of my work, master's
Mhm.
work. Then it's where the PhD opportunity came. Then
Mhm.
since it was in line with my college requirements, then it it was a point where the working on the PhD came in. Yeah.
Absolutely. And having that job security in first place make it easier for you take this decision from bachelor's to master's to PhD. It was a
Mm,
smoother ride, which
mm,
is not true for most of us, where there are
mm,
different challenges in there. So let's talk
mm,
about the challenges when you already have a full-time job and then taking all these specialized degrees.
mm.
How was that journey?
Uh, First of all,
I think there is some network issue in here. So we probably Dr. Allison will join us shortly. We got Dr. Allison back. Yes, Dr. Allison.
yes. So I could not get a permission from my employee to join a PhD. So I had to do it by thesis, not a full time. Uh, so I had to be at work at the same time doing my PhD. It was difficult, because you have to work to fulfill your duties and do a part of it. It was it was easier because I was using the college lab to do all my PhD works. So, but to have a full time concentration on my study, it was a little bit difficult. But I managed to arrange my time properly and perform all my experiments. It was involving fieldworks, collecting mosquitoes from villages, and do some lab works. But with proper time management, managed to do it. So it took me a little bit longer time to complete the PhD. I did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did it for 7 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it's not still that long because we had some stories where it went past 8 years also. Well, again, exceptional stories, but as you mentioned, we had some researcher celebrities in this series where they mentioned about having a full-time job and doing the PhD alongside. So one
Mm,
a key important part there was like the time management. They have to manage all
mm,
those weeks, months, years in advance and
mm,
have to follow that to
mm,
accomplish their goals, whatever they have targeted according to
mm,
their research questions asked in their thesis.
yeah,
So
sure.
now uh, we will talk only about the research journey part of it because, as you mentioned, it includes the field work, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
You
sure, sure.
already have spent a whole day in the college doing all your duties and now going to the field either
Mm,
in the nights or early morning, late evenings, dawn, dusk, and all the time whenever you are doing those field work.
mm,
What support based on your experience, you will suggest the others that if somebody is in the similar situation, how they can
mm.
prepare themselves better based on your experience.
Yeah, sure. I think it's very important to have a good team, this fieldwork team, and make a proper training, uh, because if you, they have to understand your work very properly and know your time frames and deadlines and ensure proper management of them. Because as a PhD, at the same time you have to be administrator. Yeah, sometimes you have to be an accountant, make sure payments are made on times. Sometimes you have to mentor because if you do that, I think everything you get much help from this supportive personnel. So I think a proper preparation is on preparing your team properly and arranging proper schedules and make sure your work is well understood by the whole of the whole team. And the other thing is making sure to make appropriate communication with supervisors because I had three supervisors from the university and also two supervisors, which were PIs in the project I was working with. So I had to make the appropriate coordination of all guidance coming from all those five channels. So you have to get that guidance and think of it and make appropriate work from those guidance. Yeah,
You are the
that's
first researcher celebrity which we had on the series up until today who had five supervisors on their thesis committee. Not
yeah,
one or two, but five. Like
five.
it is so tough to just work with two or three, but for the first time, in my experience, I'm hearing five of them. So let's only talk about that part where you have to coordinate with these people. We talk about this in these conversations that how, as a researcher, you have to wear multiple hats. You have
Mm,
to be, plan your experiments. That science is a different path where you are doing this. But on top of that, as you mentioned, you are mentoring, having these clear communications, doing all the administrations, logistics involved in all of that. So,
mm.
how you managed it, and then based on your experience, now how you can guide the future generation that they should get themselves trained during their PhD for the future.
Yeah, how did I manage it? Uh, Actually, my work was based on the company known as Iska Technology from USA. So all the findings and the logistics were coming from USA. So I had to make sure that I submit all my requirements timely. So if you require certain funding or certain tools, I make sure I made the request 1 month before. So I don't have a chance to have difficulties to perform the tasks. So timely requesting of the requirements, but also ensuring appropriate communications with both the working groups and supervisors. It also helped me a lot to address some difficulties. So that's what I can say. Proper communications and timely requesting of the requirements. Yeah, yeah.
The planning of those experiments, as some of our researcher celebrities mentioned, that sharpening your axe before cutting the tree, you should spend more time in planning those experiments instead of doing it. And especially if you have resource constraints that you
Mm,
cannot do all the experiments in
mm,
practical, so you should do most of them on papers first, and then
mm,
whosoever give results, then you should take them to
mm.
the bench, because even then only few will give the results as you planned. The hypothesis is not what most of the experiments follow most of the times. And that's what gives us the stress as a researcher.
That is correct for sure. Even myself, I can say my first result came in after a year of trying. So proper planning is very important because it saves much of time and lots of resources. If you are proper, you have a proper planning. Yes. So even if it's a proper plan, it's science. Sometimes you plan this and you have something different is coming. So it need patience, it need staying focused and the proper management of stress. So then you can have
Mhm.
science going on. But yeah, that's what
So
I
this
can
is very
say.
important point which you just mentioned. Now, all around the world, we are talking of mental health issues in researchers, and then especially in the early stages of PhD or post PhD when they are looking for those. How you managed your stress, and based off your experience, what you can suggest to the next generation of researchers that they can prepare themselves well or enough to handle that pressure which comes during their PhD with all failed experiments.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can prepare yourself enough, but what I can say, you should know when to pause. You should
Yeah.
know when to pause. Sometimes, even myself, I started my PhD in 2015 and I completed in 2022. So it's almost 7 years. And I didn't. I had at least 1 year. I had to freeze my my PhD and resume after 1 year. So
Mhm.
I had some challenges at my works, family issues. So I requested to pause a little bit and take care of my issues. Then I resumed after 1 year. I remember it was in 2018. Then I resumed in 2019. So
Mhm.
I think it's important to know when to pause. You don't have to rush because your work has to be completed in a proper way because if at the paper you must produce it for proper papers, they will stay forever. So you don't have to rush, you have to do things in proper and take care of your family or your health. Uh, so I would advise, I don't know if you can prepare for those. Sometimes they come in without us. The important thing is not to rush into finishing their
Mhm.
work. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that is what we also suggest, that acknowledging those burnouts, that when to take a pause is very important during any stage of researcher, because in research it starts from the PhD, but it never ends. The more higher ladder you walk on, move on, the more
Mm,
challenges, the more
mm,
stress it brings. It
mm.
never gets easier as a researcher. So
Yes, yes.
you mentioned about that how for some of the challenges we cannot even expect, like life happens, correct? There might be
Mhm,
issues which nobody thought of, and
mm,
acknowledging those issues and then taking
mm,
break time for those is important. But the
mm,
burnouts, which is for sure, we know that there will be days when
mm,
our brain will not be that coordinated, when we
mm,
feel that somebody has burnout,
mm.
uh, how they should acknowledge or identify that they are going through a burnout.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand yourself. And, when you start to miss deadlines and you start to see you can remember some of the issues, you forget easily some of the issues. it's important to acknowledge that now I need to take a little pause, but also I think much of the challenge most of PhD students they do face is about PIs and supervisors. Myself, I had five supervisors, and both of them I take a time to understand them well. What I could get from this one, what I can get from this one. They had different characteristics. One was very a critical reader. She had to read it through the line. So that's the good thing I was getting from this. One was a good writer, so he was supporting on that side. So knowing your team and the tapping from their strengths and even their weakness it's important. So because it keeps you stable. Sometimes you get some comments which are hard to accommodate. So you just take it easy because you know he or she has the strengths on the other side, and you need him or her in your team. So knowing your team, knowing yourself, it's an important part to know when to take a break or when you have to take an supportive advice from the family or from your mentors. Yeah. I forgot
Absolutely.
the mentors are very important at
Mhm.
that point. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so true. And having those clearer conversation, as you mentioned, that everyone comes up with their own pros and cons. So you have to take only the from the strengths of them and
Yeah.
whatever suits your personality, because that is also very important when you mentioned that understanding yourself and your team are two different things, that some things actually some of the characteristics are well supported by your personality, be it kindness, as you mentioned that somebody is very critical reader whereas somebody is very good in writing. Those skill
Mm,
sets when you earn during your PhD, that
mm,
helps for to prepare for the future, which is the idea that PhD is the foundation of your research career.
for sure.
So based on your experience through doing this and then getting the chance to move outside Tanzania for different research meetings, networking, how will you say that amount of collaborations you established around the world has helped you in developing your research further more extensive and wide?
Yeah, it's yeah, for sure. The foundation which was created during my PhD has been very useful. From there, I've been connected to different institutions. Some being evaluating their products, and that was all started with PhD works, which I did and published. So I get a connection from different institutions and companies which are involved in evaluating their products, including mosquito repellents, um, mosquito nets, and other techniques which are associated with a management of the malaria. So I can say the foundations and network has been established from the publication came from our work during PhD. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
brings us to the most important part of this PhD life, actually, and then later on, it stands hold true for any time. Whenever you are a researcher, publication is the currency. What how people say. So when you now are mentoring your students, how you tell them that. When is a good time to decide that okay, now the story is ready for a publication, because it changes everything, that whatever you have aimed for, that it will be, you are already planned that you want to communicate your studies to a higher impact journal where it is a broader, more detailed journey, whereas to some other you can publish a part of that bigger story.
Um, I think what I've been always communicating to my student is that the community it has to know what you are doing. It's very important because the small things you see, it might be useful to another person on the other. Even you have your protocol well established, and you see a new protocol and they are lead you into a certain results, useful results. You can even communicate it, publish it, even participate in conferences, make presentations. That is very useful because it creates a foundation of thinking, and it's how science tended to grow. Because when we hear from this one person, we just think on how can we build up from that. So I'll be encouraging my students to make sure they, if they have opportunity to participate anywhere in any forum, to not turn down that opportunity to communicate with the community, scientific community. Yeah, this is how we keep our science growing and improved. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think
yeah.
one of the things which is also very important for all the PhD scholars that try to go and join as many as scientific meetings, conferences you can, either nationally or internationally, because that's when you get a broader taste of your research and real
Mm,
time exposure. And I also
mm,
say that it gives you this opportunity that you can have faces for the names.
mm,
When you are, writing a thesis or a paper, you just say ABC et al.,
mm,
XYZ et al. And then when you
mm,
meet with these people in
mm,
these conferences, scientific meetings in person, now you
mm.
have this real person talking to, and you can ask
Yes.
so many questions which you cannot when you are just reading or skimming through a paper.
Mm, mm,
This also sometimes, at least that is what have been shared with many of other researcher celebrities over the series, that sometimes it opens the new avenue for their research, a new perspective which brings
mm,
from which they bring from these meetings, and the
mm,
experts their opinions, and they can actually guide them to something which a the researcher has not never thought of, b if
no.
they were limited by the resources, but now
Mm,
they have met another person who have all the resources what it takes, they
mm,
collaborate, and now
mm,
both of their sciences are enhanced, like systematically,
mm,
to benefit the scientific society.
yeah,
This
sure.
is something which we always tell the students also. So
Yeah, sure.
one
Okay.
more thing which, if I can ask, that when you are mentoring,
Mm,
okay, what are
yeah.
the key ingredients in a student you look for or seek in before selecting them, and then we'll go to the next step, that once you have selected those, how that go.
Yeah. Actually, the important thing what always look is not is that curiosity. They need to explore things. That is very important for me. Uh, when you have somebody with a curiosity mind, you want to explore things. That is what I usually look. But also, I look much on the uh, I usually tell my students that science doesn't give results instantly. You have to do and redo and explore. Sometimes we went into the field, you search the whole day, you don't get mosquitoes. At the end of the day, in the evening is where you start to get some some of those mosquitoes. So you have to that patient character is very important to me, and I think it's very important to for the science. Curiosity and being a patient when you are doing your work is what is very important things. Apart from IQ and whatever, being patient and curiosity mind is what I focus on. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that stands hold true for most of the PhD supervisors when they are selecting the students that uh, about their exploratory, thoughts, how do they approach a problem? Either it
Mm,
is for troubleshooting or, as you
mm,
mentioned, patience
mm,
with those all failed experiments, hypothetically, because
mm,
some of the things might or might not stand hold
mm,
during the real journey, because
mm,
these are all the things which you are looking before
mm,
selecting them for the
mm,
PhD. And we
mm,
have
yeah,
seen
mm,
that things do change after
yeah, mm,
you started working with that student. So,
yeah,
if there were any experiences where you have seen that this mentor-mentee relationship didn't go long, and then
mm,
either one of you have take to this, take the decision that okay, now I think it is the time that we should not continue.
yeah. I remember the one master student who was doing his work in my lab, in our lab here at the college. Um, I think he had some challenges which he could not communicate, and what I observed, he was not able to meet the deadlines, and at a certain point, he decided to disappear. So we tried to make a follow up of him. We couldn't manage to bring him back in the course because even his registration was already be cancelled. Um, I think it goes back to what we were discussing before, that uh, communication. I encourage other students, make sure if the challenge are there, you must make sure you do make communications and findings mentors to guide you into through that. So
Absolutely.
otherwise I had no experience of dropping a student except for that one, and I thought, yeah.
Wonderful thing to not to have, but what we have seen globally, that the number of PhD students are dropping down, like they are quitting after spending 2 3 4 or any time up to 5 years, that they, when they are so close, they quit on their PhDs and then they move out of the research. What we are seeing in this present, like in this decade, we can say that most we are losing researchers because of so many different issues. One of them
Mm,
obviously is like patience is what is required, and some of them do not have that. But
yeah,
sometimes the mentors are, so hard on them that they
yeah.
ruin the research for those students forever. And now a young passionate researcher who really want to be in research for rest of their life choose not to be in research forever. And this is one of the biggest challenge which we have in front of researcher community, that how you pick those and then how do you nurture those students so that
Mm.
they flourish, the field of science flourish, and everyone stays happy.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of my what I'm doing to manage the student, I have one-to-one talk several times, and also where we don't talk of our research work, we talk on other issues, life and everything, families, and so I think this help much to break that gap between a mentor and mentee, supervisor and the supervisee. So that gap, it makes you understand from their point what make them to, because a person does not drop the PhD instantly. There are some initial indicators like that, missing deadlines, uh, improper communications. So you can
Mhm.
start noticing at areas possible on the those trends, and you can help. Unfortunately, I could not observe those to my student until I lost him. But I've been from there. I've made those kind of one-to-one talk. We make group discussions on other issues, social issues, and we manage to address these challenges of
Absolutely.
usually social issues. Yeah.
And I think, as you mentioned, being human sometimes is very helpful so that you are not only concerned about their experiments, the success of the experiments, but
Mm,
you are talking to them as human, that what is
mm,
happening in the life, having those one-on-one communication is also
mm,
important. And sometimes that's how you get all those students' enthusiasm
mm,
and passion back because they see a human in you, and then they see that how compassionate you are with their
mm,
issues. You are there to help them as and when
mm,
whatever is required, keeping all the higher standards of science and ethics on top.
mm.
Because
Yeah.
day after the day they have received that PhD, obviously they will acknowledge you, but they will
Mm,
also learn these things from you, which they
mm,
are going to follow with their students when they become mentors. And that's how
mm.
we always try to work this research community stronger and stronger and stronger.
Sure. For sure.
So at the edge of this conversation, I would like to know the word of wisdom, as we say here for this series, based on your experience in the field of research. What you can suggest that how a researcher of any stage in their career can keep themselves motivated and passionate about their research, even when they are facing or going through the tough time in their life.
Yeah, I think as the researchers, we don't do this for ourselves. We are doing research in order to address challenges this world face. Like on my side, I take research as my opportunity to save community life because my focus is the research into evidence-based ways for controlling malaria mosquitoes. So I do this for my community to help a community eradicate the problem burden of malaria. So I think this keeps me motivated to do it even with the difficulties and challenge because I see it as it's not for myself, it's for the community. If I manage to come up with the best solution for the this thing, I think my heart will be happy for that. So I think it's important to know why I'm doing this. What's the main major picture of doing this? So it will keep you going, keep you motivated, and despite of challenges, you will keep doing it because we don't do research for ourselves. We do it to address a problem that affect our communities or affecting our environment or in some ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's the best way to keep yourself motivated with the heart, which is society oriented, that you are giving it back to the community, how you are going to save those lives. And that keeps you motivated, no matter how tough or challenging it can be when you are working in the field. With this, we'll say thank you so much, Dr. Ellison. And to all our audience, we can say that if you want to write to Dr. Ellison, you can write to him. If you want STEM for Society to put you in touch with our researcher celebrities, we have dedicated mentor-mentee program, which we can connect you with our researcher celebrities if you want further one-on-one mentoring from them. Thank you so much, Dr. Ellison, once again for this conversation, and we wish you good luck for your research.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure to have you.
For
Thank you.
all the audience, will say stay tuned for another episode of Researcher Celebrity.